Let's take a trip down memory lane and spill all of the small town tea. I'm your host, KP Parker, and this is Town Gossip. Good afternoon, Vermontsters. You're listening to Town Gossip. I'm KP Parker, and you guessed it. Today we're going to Vermont. Beautiful state. That's what everybody says. Trees galore, tiny, weed galore. That's what I know. Everyone that I know that has something to say about Vermont knows of it because of skiing. It's like the classic place to go skiing. And here's my thing. I'm not like, a skier. Don't ever put that near my name. Don't ever say that that's who I am. Have I gone skiing? Yeah. And I have some complaints. Shocker. But I have some complaints here. First thing I want to say is the ski lift needs to start at the highway. The ski lift, bring that so far back. Bring it all the way down to the highway. Because the amount of walking that you're doing to actually get to the ski lift, it's 3 out of 4 of the hours that you're there on the hill. It is so much. And you're in the parking lot, and the parking lot is a sort of its own thing. If you don't get there at 4:77 a.m., you have to park 4 miles away because everyone wakes up at the absolute butt crack of dawn to go skiing. Not me, but okay. So you're parked so far away, and then in the parking lot is so much of a story is happening all around you. And it's very confusing if you're not a long-term skier. So I'm looking to my left and I'm seeing a snowboarder wearing khaki pants and a Stussy sweatshirt. And that's all of the bundling that he's doing. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's hot up on the mountain. Maybe just because I'm seeing snow, that's what that is. And then you turn to the right, there's a girl in Skims, Carhartt, Arc'teryx, Columbia, and Patagonia. It's 9 brand deals all in one. She's wearing every article of clothing she's ever had, including, and you think I'm making it up, no, I'm not, clip-on bang things so that you still have 2 little bits of hair hanging through your helmet to say to the ski lift operator, the 14-year-old ski lift operator, lest ye think I'm bald. No, I'm cute, I'm feminine, I have hair going down. There's somebody so dressed up and so bundled up, and you're like, okay, maybe it's actually freezing out there. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm wearing what I think I'm supposed to be wearing. And then you have to get into every, overall scarf, balaclava scenario you've ever had. You're sweating. Then you have to walk all the way from the car all the way to the lodge. That's got to be, based on how I'm feeling, 8 to 9 miles. 8 to 9 miles of walking that you're doing in the snow boots, because we're not going to spend more money, since it's the most expensive thing that's ever happened, to get a locker. So you're walking in these big boots, and then you have 2 poles, 2 skis. I'm looking like Buster Keaton, flopping these around, Larry Curly and Moe, with every pole that's ever existed askew on my back, spidered out. And then you pay in, you get in through, you have another 4 miles to walk to the actual ski lift. Then you're hitting the hill. I'm saying start the ski lift at everyone's local home. Make it like a public transit. Let me on a station so I don't have to be walking in that parking lot for 8 miles anymore. I cannot do it. I don't know what I'm doing. And I know I'm not doing it right because it feels very wrong what the skis are doing. That's what I know about Vermont. And I think you'll find I have a really good attitude about it. That's Vermont for me, but I really want to hear it from somebody special. And thankfully we have somebody special with us today. We have the very funny, very, very awesome, very cool guy, Jake Cornell. Hi, Jake.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
It's an honor.
Oh my gosh. I, talked a little bit about skiing, but truly I don't know that much about Vermont. So I'm thankful that you're here.
I think that's kind of the general gist of it. Yeah. I don't think many people have a clear idea of it. And if they do, it's from vacationing there. Yeah. So a lot of times, especially living in New York, when you say you're from Vermont, people are like, oh, I love Vermont. And they're like, growing up there must have been amazing. And it's I wasn't rich. I didn't grow up on the mountain. I didn't grow up on the mountain skiing. I also hate skiing. But I also, it's whenever you're from a vacation place, people always assume your life was their vacation.
Totally.
It's it wasn't.
It was normal. I actually just put my pants on one leg at a time like you guys.
Yes. So. And then my long johns and my snow pants.
Yeah. Coming from Connecticut, we really heard about just beautiful, beautiful trees.
Yeah.
Smoking a lot of weed.
Sure.
Vermont, I've heard. Yeah. But New Hampshire, a little more. We heard that about the colleges of New Hampshire were real weed colleges. We'd have to avoid.
I mean, I went to UVM and they were fucking smoking weed.
Okay, so it was true. That one's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was definitely there's definitely a lot of weed in Vermont.
Okay, because it was one of the first states I think to legalize it. Mass, maybe. Was it Mass?
You could. Yeah, I know that they had medical marijuana for a long time.
Yeah.
But I feel like you could buy weed legally in New York before you could Vermont.
Okay.
You definitely couldn't like legally buy weed when I was in college, which was like 10 years ago.
Okay.
Or, no, longer. God. Okay.
We'll say 10. Nobody look it up. Nobody changed the Wikipedia.
I'm 14. No, I'm not.
No.
No, I'm not.
Okay. So, but living there, how big was your town?
Rutland is a city in Vermont. It is a town. Like,
sure,
it's like, I think it's the third largest city in Vermont. It is a town.
And that's giving it a lot of grace.
Yeah. And then there are like much smaller towns around it that are just kind of like legally designated large swaths of land where some people live in a lot of rural areas. So that's where I'm actually from.
Great.
So I'm from like the Rutland area.
Yeah.
Which has like thousands of people.
Yeah.
I'm from the two towns I lived in outside of that were called Clarendon and Shrewsbury.
Oh, sure.
And those are like tiny, like rural. My elementary school class in Clarendon was like 30 kids for like the whole town.
Yeah.
Shrewsbury was even smaller. Shrewsbury was like 8 kids.
8 kids in the grade?
In the grade, yeah.
That teacher's living the best life.
Yeah. So, I'm sure that town is deeply underfunded. So
sure,
but
sorry. I had a moment of joy and that was on me.
And here's the thing that we can't have those anymore.
100%.
No, but it was like I'm from like very small towns and then you could go into like the smaller town for like grocery shopping.
Yeah.
Or like
the one Walmart, perhaps.
There was one Walmart.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Small town. So you're like, I'm from a small town. That's you would claim that.
I would claim I'm from a small town. Yeah.
Yeah. We've had discussions on the past in this pod where it's like, I thought I was from it. I'm at 25,000 people. I'm not. I'm from a medium town, and I can't claim small town energy, and that's I'm learning that.
Totally.
You always think your town's small, and then you meet someone.
Well,
where
everything feels small, right? I think town, like you know what I mean. Unless you grew up in like truly this, but even people in like New York say like New York's a small town. You know what I mean?
New York City.
People like say like New York feels like a small town.
Yeah.
Like if you live here long enough because you like know people, right? But that's just like how community works. No, but being from like a small town is like it's its own beast.
Wow. Yeah. Because also I think what people are really like, I was like, oh, I'm from a small town because there's nothing to do. But it's like, yeah, there's kind of nothing to do in a mid-sized town. And there's nothing to do because it's not a city. Unless you're from a city, you probably don't have much to do.
No, 100%.
Yeah. Would you have like little hometown restaurants, little bar?
So like Clarendon had one restaurant called the Whistle Stop that is no longer there, which at one point was a train station, and then that train line got shut down, and then they converted it into a restaurant.
Yeah.
And Shrewsbury still has one restaurant or it used to be called Over Easy's. It was like a breakfast spot.
Cute.
Now I think it's called the Red Rooster.
Also
I've never
cute.
been there since it changed.
These seem like classic names so far.
So like Rutland has like a handful of restaurants.
Great.
So if you were going out to dinner, 99.9% of the time we were driving into Rutland, which was like a 15-20 minute drive.
Great. So it's not like you're like, oh God, it's an hour till the next civilization.
No,
you're like, okay, it's a drive. Yeah. You're finding something to do.
Distance wise, you could think of it as the suburbs, but but the actual, I would never call it the suburbs because the actual town itself is like very rural. Yeah. So it's not suburban in any way, you know.
What are most of the parents like doing jobs wise?
Like trades, I feel like. Like, you know what I mean? Like I remember like, it was like if you were like a rich kid at my school, it was like your parents were either like doctors, which was only a handful because there weren't that many doctors. Sure. Or like owned like the company that did everyone's septic tank. Yeah. And they're like, oh, they're making bank. Or like the concrete company in town. Yeah, because we all need that. Sort of thing. There used to be like, there was a GE plant there. So like there was some engineering happening, but that was kind of like constantly getting downsized my entire life. So like, and I think it's gone now. Like maybe, I don't know. I feel like growing up, it was a lot of people had like trades. Yeah. We had one weird place that I don't know anyone that worked there, but it's still there. And we were always told it is a bomb fuse company. So it creates the fuses to bombs. And I was always like, makes sense to me. And now as an adult, I'm like, sorry, we're not in a cartoon. The Looney Tunes. Yeah, I was going to say there's no way they make fuses. What, rope? Well, no.
So I think it's probably more complex than that. But that's what it is. It's still in town. And earlier I was complaining.
Acme? Like, what is it?
Ensign Bickford. Whatever. I don't know. I'm sure they make something because we would hear like bomb noises in the town sometimes and be like, oh, Ensign Bickford.
Sounds like they're working.
I truly would be like, that's there crazy. They go. There's a bomb. So you'd hear like a little off in the distance bomb because there was a huge like 40 acres of forest. I'm going to look this up later and it's going to be like, oh, they like make hair serums. Like it's like not going to be this at all. But who knows? Yeah. But I'm sure they said they made bombs. But my friend, I was complaining that my hair like is thin. And my friend was like, I bet it's because we grew up so close to the bomb fuse factory. And I was like, I don't.
Did the bomb chemicals get into the water?
That the bomb fuses leaked and did this to us.
Totally. Okay.
But it's like those, you have one little spot in your town that you're like, yeah, that's just the septic. They just do all the septic for the town. They do all the bomb fuses for the town. There's just an odd little thing going on.
Did a lot of people's parents growing up work at that factory?
I never heard of a single one work there.
That's more suspicious. Okay.
I know. And now when I pass it, it's just a lot of like business, like wearing Arterix or whatever. What's that company?
Arterix?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, they're doing something.
Weird.
I don't know. I got to look into it. I name dropped them and that could be my mistake. FBI.
Yeah.
It's going to look into me for Ensign Bickford.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was your town. Small, but you're going into Rutland when you want to hang out, when you want food.
Yeah, like that was where the movie theater was. That's where the mall was. Those are both now gone. Like this town is just constantly downsizing.
Yeah.
The movie theater's now Planet Fitness. The mall is abandoned. Yeah, so there's even less to do now. But yeah, there used to be a mall that was like, again, kind of constantly getting smaller and smaller. Yeah. Like my entire life. And there was a movie theater that's gone. So you would go into Rutland for like basically anything. And like my high school job was in Rutland.
Okay,
So like you would go into Rutland for like kind of anything.
Yep.
There was like, especially Clarendon, like doesn't even have like a town center.
Strip.
Like there's not really any sort of not municipal. There's no like commerce. There's no like stores. Like there's that one restaurant, which is like a standalone thing on the side of the road. And like that was really it. So like it was like if you wanted kind of like literally anything, you do have to go. Yeah.
Where would people like post high school hang?
Because there wasn't that much. I mean, you could go into Rutland and do stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a very big divide in my high school between like the good kids and like the bad kids. Because it was kind of like you either do extracurriculars and honestly kind of just stay at the school and like do theater or sports or like whatever it is.
Fill your time until dinner.
Or you're at like wherever the sports are happening, like at the indoor soccer field or whatever. Right. Or you were like at someone's house or in like a field like drinking or doing drugs.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was like certain things that became like the movie theater was definitely like a spot to go, especially like in that in between where you were like wanted to socialize without parents around but couldn't drive yet. Like everyone could get their parents to drive them to the movie theater. There was a skating rink that I think on like Thursday nights or Friday nights, like once a month or once a week, there was Teen Skate. Cute. Which would be like where all the teens would go and skate. Sure. I never went to that because I don't know. I'm really bad at skating. And also I don't remember like I remember like asking Joe and not being able to. Oh, I actually just remembered why. That's so funny. And it is because of the timing of my parents' custody agreement. Was that we changed over on Fridays, which was the day. So I always had to be at my dad's for like dinner.
Hey, I can't. I have a custody thing.
Yeah, like sorry, my parents' custody agreement bars me from going to Teen Skate. Fuck.
We don't get anything when our parents get divorced.
No. Yeah, but like I feel like those were like the things to do, but it was mostly honestly like kind of extracurriculars. Like there wasn't a ton of like partying at my school. Again, also because it was like a small town, it felt like you couldn't get away with anything. Like one, there was no
someone's gonna tell someone's mom who's gonna tell.
Well, one, it was like, okay, so I can't sneak out of my house to go anywhere because I live on a dead end road, a mile and a half up a very steep hill.
Sure.
And for at least 4 months of the school year,
snowy.
It's cold enough that I could die. So like that, there's no way to get to like the main road to get in a car. Like that's just like actually not happening.
Actually stranded.
So that was like not like sneaking out wasn't a thing. Everyone lived so far away from each other because the other thing was, so like my high school, I went to what's called a union high school, which is like, so basically it's like when there's a bunch of small towns that don't have enough of a population to support their own high school.
Sure.
They unionize. Okay. And then they have one high school for like a bunch of different towns.
Sure.
So like there were 3 towns that unionized to make a high school. And then the way Vermont works is that if your town doesn't have a high school or isn't part of a union, you can go to any public school in the state.
Oh, wow.
And you just are in charge of getting yourself there. So there was also towns even farther out from us that also had kids coming in.
Wow.
So like I had friends in high school who were like a 50-minute drive from me, like on the highway, like driving like 45 miles an hour.
What are we going to do? Go drink at your house after driving for an hour?
Yeah. And like there was just, I think that's also why like the school kind of ended up being a hub because like people lived far from each other. Like in elementary school, like everyone was friends with their neighbors, like very much. And then I feel like in high school, which I think is normal for people.
Yes.
But then like it really, once it started to become more about like the theater kids or the this kids or that kids, like it was like you kind of need to stay close to the school or in Rutland because otherwise like everyone lived fucking far from each other.
Yeah. I think it's always like if you're generally within 3 years, your parents think like well, you'll just be friends with those people, your neighbors forever.
Yeah.
And I was like, I actually like can't find a single thing we agree on. He wears shorts in the winter.
Yeah.
I like won't be friends with him. How could I be friends with that guy?
It's also, you're not at school. You don't understand like the dynamics that are going on.
Social
it's, like,
suicide.
Yeah, it'd be bad. Yeah. And yeah, so that was definitely a part of it too.
Yeah, where you're like, okay, we're not actually hanging out anymore. You had a dog when I was 5 and that was nice.
There wasn't much like and I remember like because it was such a small town, there was very little like you couldn't sneak out. There was also very little like anonymity.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like people knew like it was the kind of place where you'd be from and someone would be like, oh, I saw you were parked outside this place yesterday. It's like, fuck. You know what I mean? So like you couldn't really like, get away with anything.
Right.
And I remember there was this one girl in my class whose mom was just like notoriously a rat. Like she was just she was in everyone's business. You knew that you couldn't tell this girl, I'm going to change her name. I'll call her like Samantha. That was her name. But like you knew that if you told Samantha anything, she would tell her mom.
Which and makes then it Samantha would come back. A rat
so
too.
It was like, yes. So it was like if anything was going on, any gossip, anything, you couldn't tell Samantha because her mom, and then her mom would call your mom. But the other thing was she was so like, it was so transparently a thing about like, I mean, I do think she was like overly protective of her kids and wanted her kids to be safe. But I also do think she kind of like got off on like getting involved in the drama and getting kids in trouble.
Totally.
To the point where like, I remember like one time the moms didn't like her either. Like I remember one time my friend got a call from Samantha's mom and his mom was like, oh, I need to change the mom's name. Like the rat mom, let's name her like Lucy. Yeah. Like, like my friend's mom, like she called and she's like, I just want you to know that I said, and she went, fuck you, Lucy, and hung up the phone.
That's
like,
my mom.
It's like,
my mom
like, I don't care. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I care, but like also like, we don't have
to watch every single thing.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
Like,
and it's
relax
also like,
about it.
It was like, if it didn't happen at your house, it's like kind of not your business.
Yes.
Also, it's like, we're not talking about like assault or something fucked up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, there's like some wiggle room here, whatever.
Yes.
So it felt very much like there was not much at my high school specifically. Like it was a very like goody two shoes in that way. Sure. It felt like the cool kids were being good. I feel like a little bit. And at Rutland, the Rutland high school was like where the bad kids went because like they all did live in like in suburbs, so you could sneak out and you could walk to your friend's house, and there were house parties. Like none of that was happening at my high school. Sure, you know.
What kind of kid were you? Were you theater back then or no?
I was theater. I did theater. Yeah. I did a lot of theater, and that was kind of it. I ran cross country but then I like hurt my feet and had to stop. So my main, I did music and I did theater.
Yep. Yeah.
And those were kind of my main. Oh, and my other big extracurricular in high school was Model UN. Loved Model UN. So those were like my big three things.
Some of our greatest voices of comedians.
Yeah, absolutely.
Were started off by being called, you're a little argumentative kid.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to go to Yale for a week every year? Yeah.
Yeah.
So those were like my things.
Yeah. I was choir kids, theater kids, musical theater kids, and it was just, we're not really doing the partying until senior year anyway, because we're just kind of like,
it just wasn't really a part of it.
We're just doing the play and we're having fun. We're going to Chili's afterwards.
We went to Denny's after religiously.
Denny's.
Yeah, we didn't have a Chili's.
We did Friendlies mostly.
Okay.
You have Friendlies?
We had a Friendlies. It's gone.
God, I love Friendlies. Monster Mash?
Of course.
Of course.
The number of times I'm going to say it's gone now is like I reference anything, I'm like, it's gone. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. My town is doing the same thing where it's like, now like everything's also a fusion-y, or it's just breakfast. And I'm like, how many breakfasts could I possibly eat here? I would like just like the Chili's back, or I'd like something.
I know.
Something a little different. But yeah, they're constantly replacing everything for somebody else's new little business they want to try. And that's fine. And we're just going to have to adapt. What is the gossip?
Rutland is a interesting place. Like when I said yes to the show, I was like, oh my God, this will be so easy. And then I like thought about it for a second and I was like, everyone in Vermont refers to Rutland as either Rut Vegas or if they're trying to be extra pejorative, Slutland. Because it's like the trashy of the cities. It's like the not nice part of Vermont. Like, you know what I mean?
Is it central? North?
It's west central. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like kind of close to, it's like an hour from New York State. It's like Burlington's nice.
Okay.
Montpelier's nice.
Yeah.
Brattleboro is like cool and artsy and fun. Rutland is like decaying and bad. And like I feel like it's kind
Vegas
of
is
like
wild.
Yeah, like that's what it's called. So like just so for the listeners, so you understand, when you agree to do this podcast, they send you a form that's like, you're going to have to bring a piece of gossip. Please don't have it involve like violence, murder, drugs, minors, or like sexual solicitation. And I'm like, that eliminates every single story from my town.
You've tied my hands.
I group texted my best friend who I grew up with, my sister and my mom, and they sent all these stories. And then I sent like they were like,
just to be clear,
I was like, just to be clear, can't include this. And my best friend responded, I really have nothing. Like, it's like, it's tough. Like, it's just like, there's so like, I just want to preface that with like, there's so much psycho shit that has gone down in my town, but it's like
fill in the blanks on what else it might be. Yeah.
So I was like, what was like a juicy, and I was trying to think like what were like more lighthearted, like fun things that went down. And I think no matter where you go, high school sports is a big deal.
Yes.
Obviously, like high school sports is a huge deal.
Yes.
In small towns, it's like high school sports is a huge deal, but for the parents, it's like they have nothing else.
Yeah.
There's nothing else going on.
I am putting all of my eggs in this one basket.
I know, exactly. And there's an extra, and I'm going to go ahead and just say this. If you're from the Rutland area and your children were involved in sports and while I was in high school and you don't want your feelings hurt, like just stop listening to this podcast episode, like come back next week.
Huge Rutland fan base too. So this is actually huge.
Well, okay, wait. Also, sorry, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to do a quick sidebar just to give you, this is like one of the most iconic things about Rutland ever.
Okay.
And like this will kind of, just to give you like a sense of like the vibes of like the town.
Yeah.
One of the greatest like eras of Rutland's history was in probably like 2009-ish. Like it was right around when I was finishing high school going to college. This man created this Facebook page that was called Rutland Spotlight. And all he did, the only thing he did was that he would take the public disclosure posts from the Rutland Police Department and the State Trooper Department and put them on Rutland Spotlight. So basically
town crier.
So every morning you could wake up and for the most part just see who got a DUI the night before. It was like who got a DUI the night before, who got arrested the night before, who got a drug charge, who got like domestic, like whatever it was.
And I'm sure Rat Lucy and everyone,
yes, but the thing was, everyone in town joined it. Like everyone in Rutland was in this Facebook group. And so then what was so amazing would be someone would like, and you have to also like, Rutland's a place where like a lot of people don't leave. Like people are born there and they die there and their life is there and their generation. Yes. It's also a very big Vermont thing. Like Vermont has this thing of like, you're not like people, like a lot of people say like, you're not a Vermonter unless your grandparents were born here. Like they have like that thing of like, they don't like new folk.
Sure,
like, I think it's because of the touristy nature of it. Like they're like very anti-outsiders. So
and it's a small state. So it's kind of like,
it's the lowest populated state. No, that's not true. I think like Wyoming, something's less. But it's low. It's low. Yeah. It's down there. Everyone in this Facebook group would join it. We had joined this Facebook group. And so then it would be like someone would get a DUI. And then the comments, because also no one had anything else to fucking do. The comments would be like every piece of gossip about them that's ever come on. So it would be like, it would literally be like, Kate got a DUI last night. And then it would be like, yeah, that's not shocking. She fucked my boyfriend in the 10th grade. And then like next time I'd be like, oh my God, she fucked my boyfriend. Do you remember? And then like with details and receipts. And you would just be like, well, I'm spending my whole day here. Like, and my mom was like, I actually think this is genuinely a net positive because like, and multiple people have said this was like, I already didn't want a DUI, but I, more than not wanting a DUI, do not want to be flamed in the Rutland Spotlight page because it would burn you alive. Like they would, the comments would be, and then it got this went on for years and years and years. And like, it would be a thing. Like I would come home from college, my mom would be like, you want to catch up on Rutland Spotlight? And we'd spend hours just scrolling. Put it on the big screen. No, like literally we would do it as a family. Like you'd go through Rutland Spotlight and so like, it was like deeply toxic and like deeply entertaining. And then someone tried to make like, it was like, there was a second group made that was like Rutland Spotlight parentheses positive. And then it was like, so it was supposed to be like nice things. And everyone was like, we don't want this. No, like it was just, it was like a real era. I think the guy who ran it kind of got crazy around COVID and then kind of moved it into like an anti-vax thing and kind of like the page. Also like the page kind of died off during COVID because like people were out and about. Yeah. And so, it's like Facebook. Facebook also, So I don't think it's as much of a thing anymore. I actually will probably call my mom after this and see what's going on with Rutland Spotlight. So that is a sidebar thing. That was like a real iconic. Incredible. Yeah, Rutland Spotlight was a huge era in our lives that I miss like every day. People were really like right when social medias were like really finding their own thing. It was also like huge. It was also the perfect timing of it was right around when Gen X boomers were getting on Facebook and they were happy to say anything. They're also experiencing full-blown addiction to it like rapidly. Like they're becoming rapidly addicted to social media and they have no concept of like what shouldn't be like, do you know what I mean? It was like, because like high schoolers, we used to be online and we used to like post our Facebook statuses and it would be like watching the OC tonight or whatever. Right. And then they'd be like, keep it public facing. Exactly. Keep it public facing. And then the Gen X's and boomers got on it and be like, just clean my hemorrhoid. My wife's being a bitch. And I was like, I didn't need any of that. I didn't need any of that. Because you know what we did have? We would have like Ask FM where that's where you go off like anonymously or all those things where it'd be like,
even Facebook had like widgets or whatever, where it would be like, oh, this is where you can put anonymous
Form spring.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
Trust me, I remember. So it's like that shit, but totally. So like it just was this perfect storm where then it was like all these Gen X and boomers just like giving all the tea. It was amazing. So the gossip that came to mind, like the long saga that came to mind was, I was saying sports.
Yeah.
So like the sports in my town, and I think sports in every town are really intense, but I just remember like as someone who didn't play them, but was very, by just proximity of being in a small town in like the high school, like you knew everyone.
Yeah, you're doing it.
I'm not even rooting, but just like you're deeply aware of like who won the game last night, who's playing, whatever. And being like these parents care in some ways more than the kids.
Definitely.
Like I remember one time, this isn't the gossip, but like there were these twins that went to my school that were like the basketball stars. And I think what's so funny about what made me laugh about the whole sports thing was like, you know, kids, like parents in the theater department and the music department were like serious about their kids like doing whatever.
Sure. And
like maybe some of those kids were going to go on. I mean, like I'm a performer now, whatever, but like no one was like that. But it's like, hey, like we actually all know for an empirical fact, like no one on the Mill River varsity basketball team is going to go to the NBA or even play like realistically D2. So like, but
the years keep going back and back. I feel like where it is like, if your kid's not perfect by 13, they won't ever make it. So they go crazy like, when they're like 12.
That's what I'm
like,
saying. But like,
I think it's too much.
The Rutland County, Colin, correct me if I'm wrong. Rutland County has never produced a professional athlete.
Yeah.
In the history. Maybe a skier or a snowboarder.
Yours isn't going to be it.
It's not going to happen. So I don't understand why you give every fuck you've ever had, but you are. Like I remember, so these twins, they were the grade below me, and their senior class, they got in a lot of trouble because instead of doing one senior prank at the end of the year, they did a ton throughout the year, and they actually got like, it was so stupid.
Very like Fred and George Harry Potter.
Yes, exactly. The first prank they did was like the first big snowfall of the year.
Okay.
They came to the school at like 5 o'clock in the morning. They had taken a truck full of snow and rebuilt it back up so no one could turn into the school. And it actually created like a citywide traffic, or not citywide, it created like a traffic backup on the town, and then the plow couldn't get there. It was like this huge thing. So it was like a huge like,
man, they like need a hobby. They're like thinking big, so then, but they just need a hobby.
They were playing a basketball game that night.
Okay.
And their punishment was like you're barred from playing the basketball game that night.
Fine.
These twins' mom came into the school, was screaming up a storm in the principal's office, and I remember seeing
your twins
her,
under control.
And I was like, I remember like I have like an image of this woman in the principal's office, like in the front office of the school, burned into my mind because I remember I was 16 at the time, looking at her being like, I've never seen something more embarrassing. Like one, your kids did something bad. Both your kids.
Yeah.
Double whammy. Both your kids fucked up. So that's on you as the mom, low key. And now you're saying that they don't deserve punishment because you need them to play their little game.
Which that punishment is like light for what they did, for like being really annoying to the streets.
Hey, like they're not playing this basketball game tonight, but also in 2 years, they're not playing basketball at all anymore. So you need to find a new thing because your source of meaning is about to go away. That's maybe too harsh, but I was sort of just like, what are we doing, sweetie? My sister played softball. God, I hope none of these people listen to this. My sister played softball, and starting out, there was a married couple who had 2 daughters. One was a year older than my sister. One was a year younger than my sister. When my sister was in like elementary school, middle school, they coached the softball team.
The married couple.
Yeah, great. Mostly the guy.
Sure.
We'll call him Pete, and we'll call her Cindy. Pete and Cindy. So mostly Pete did, but Cindy was there and active. Pete obviously favored his daughters.
Sure.
They started every game. They were the best players. And here's the thing. They were like, I think, good at softball. He would have said like, they're the best softball players in the world. It was like Nepo boots. And he would always make sure they started, da-da-da. And I think they were good, but like also they were his kids and he was favoring them.
Yep. Maya Hawke is good.
Yeah.
But would she have gotten discovered?
Sure. We don't know. But it's not even that because it's like Ethan Hawke would have to be like the director of the movie too.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, this is like, and this is
right.
Like, so
Sophia Coppola,
the mom of another mother on the team, a couple other mothers started to get really mad that their kid was getting neglected. Their kids were getting neglected in the play.
Fine.
So it started this huge feud. The resolution became this mom will name her Rebecca. Rebecca splits off, starts her own softball team, takes half the kids. So then that was like my sister stayed with the Pete team.
Because she was like, I believe in this.
He liked her.
Oh, yeah.
It was all like no one was acting. No one in this story, and my sister included, no one was acting like virtuously. It was like what serves me best. Like, Pete liked my sister. Pete put my sister in the games. My sister liked staying with Pete. Like whatever.
Sure.
I don't think my mom or my sister were particularly a fan of Rebecca either. Like I think it was that as well. But like whatever. This feud was vitriolic and then proceeded to last for 7 years. And my sister was involved the entire time because she was on the softball team.
Was one like sanctioned and one not though? Like how can you have two?
Because they weren't, because like until high school, the teams weren't like affiliated with the school.
It was like a rec, but like not.
Yeah, it was like a rec league, I guess.
An unofficial town team.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she just like went and started her own with the rec league.
Oh.
So my sister was like part of this whole thing, and it would be like you would go to games and like the tension was palpable, and mind you the kids were like maybe a little rude to each other, but these parents were so trashy to each other. Like I would be there and be like, this is humiliating. My mom was like, I hate this, like it just sucked.
Because it's softball. And how old is everyone?
So then I mean at that point they're like, when this started they were like 12. So then here's where it gets juicy. At some point between like when that happened and when my sister gets to high school, Pete is made the coach of the varsity softball team at the high school.
Oh, so he's not rec league anymore.
No, but now all the girls on both teams are going to be coached by him.
No.
So it's like, and
so
like,
he's double favoring all the ones that were in his team.
Oh yeah. So his daughters are like immediately on the starting line, whatever. So it's this huge thing. The other women like are constantly pissed. It's a huge tension the entire season.
Your sister lucked out, chose the right side back in the day.
Correct. So I think this all went down my sister's freshman year. This girl this morning sent me a 12-minute voice note. And I was like, okay, well, they asked for 5 to 7, so I'm going to have to kind of cut some details.
Can't be on this.
There's like a whole side plot where someone gets like sick and almost loses a leg that I'm cutting, but it is like not relevant to the story, just so you know. And like, I'm talking nasty. Like, I remember at one point my sister telling me that like Cindy like told the girls on her team that Rebecca was smoking crack. Like really nasty shit.
We'll go for anything.
Yeah,
and
like,
put it on the spotlight. Put it
and
on
my
the
sister was like,
spotlight.
what's crack? Like literally, like, you know what I mean? It was like such a mess. So nasty shit like that. So then he's the varsity softball coach, huge saga. They're constantly fighting at the games. Like I'm seeing the parents fight at the game at one point. At one game, and I'm forgetting the details surrounding this, but Rebecca called police and said that they needed to be there for protection because she felt physically unsafe watching her daughter because of the other people. So like there was police at one game because of this. This is for protection. Softball.
I need secret service.
And people like, it's like people say like people don't give a shit about women's sports. It's like people give a lot of shits about these women's sports.
Oh my God.
So then it all came to a head where it was my sister's sophomore year. I can do the math. Yeah. So it was my sister's sophomore year. She is playing softball and it comes to the final game of the season, which is obviously the senior game. And like historically, like the seniors all start so that they get to play on their last game before they go off to college.
And she's sophomore and she's on varsity. She's doing great.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
She might have been, I don't think she was a junior because my sister transferred high schools after that. So but maybe, I don't really know.
But she was on the big team.
She's on the big team.
Yeah.
Pete goes to her and he's like, hey, I know that this is the senior game, but this game decides whether or not we get to go to playoffs, and it's more important that we win. So I'm putting the starters I want in, not the seniors. So my sister started over one of the seniors. Like his daughter started over the seniors, or like one of his daughters. What is the senior? His other daughter started over a senior.
She's getting glares from the parents.
She goes, my sister, which I actually think is impressive. She was like, I'm gonna go to the girl I'm going in for directly and like let her know that this wasn't like I didn't ask for this.
Yeah, because it's gonna come down on me.
And also like, so she didn't find out in front of everyone. So she was like, hey, I just want to let you know, like he just told me I'm starting, and I just like wanted you to know that like I was just told that, like that's how that went down. Everything explodes. Huge deal, huge fights, whatever. They do ultimately win the game. So they do get to go to playoffs.
But parents are like fully yelling at Pete?
Fully yelling at Pete. And the thing is, Pete would yell, Cindy would scream. Ooh. That woman would go up. I can still picture her in her cargo shorts and her sunglasses with the thing that ties behind so that they can't fall off. Her like tight short haircut, like just yelling. Like just like, and
she's like, that's what she's there for, because Pete's like, doing the coaching.
But she also would kind of side coach. And the other thing is like I remember my mom and my stepdad being like, it is actually insane to spend time with them as adults because this is their whole lives. She's like, we've seen them at a bar and they're talking about high school girls softball.
What's the end game?
That's the thing. Game? It's about to end. Like, and, like it's just so crazy. I was like, I just remember sitting there being like, this is the most pathetic shit I've ever seen in my life.
Totally.
Like you're screaming at each other. You're embarrassing your daughters.
It's not like there's college scouts, are there? I guess after playoffs, maybe some are.
I need you to all to understand that they were playing on a a plot of grass that was not like designed to be a football diamond. There was just like footprints that had treaded down.
It's like we'll make our own desire path.
It wasn't like, no, there was no scouts. There were not bleachers at this field.
It's just chairs. You're bringing folding chairs.
Yeah, like people.
And meanwhile, Bravo levels of drama are going down.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, this would have aired on like Spike or CMT, but it was like, but it was like they win the game. Rebecca, the mother of the girl that my sister went in place of, who we'll call the mom Valerie, go to the school board and petition to have him fired. On
what grounds?
So
and listen, I'm not picking a side here. On what grounds?
I think the grounds were like favoritism and unfair treatment.
But like most coaches of real teams have to be. Come on.
And I think the thing is, and I think this is what is ultimately what made everyone go so insane. I think it's like the mechanism in place that is supposed to prevent a coach who is a parent of one of the players from like blatantly favoring their child is shame. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing
and
to
Pete
like.
Did not have that.
And they were shameless. They were completely self-unaware and completely shameless.
I'll put her in every single round.
Yeah, he didn't give a fuck.
Again,
because again, this was his whole world. He thought this was life and death. You would have thought watching Pete and Cindy play these games that if they lost, their daughters were being brought behind the dugout and shot. Like that is a level of like vitriol these games were played with. It was unbelievable. So at the school board hearing that my sister goes to.
And there's a whole hearing.
There's a whole hearing about it. Gives like a testimony where she has to justify why it's so egregious Pete's favoritism. And to do that, she cites the time that my sister went in place of her daughter.
Fine.
So in order to make that justified, she just has to describe how much of a dog shit player my sister is for like 15 minutes.
Listen how much this doesn't make sense.
Can you believe they put this sack of shit in?
Yeah, like, look at her.
Like
bring her
she's
up.
Here.
Bring her up. Let's all parade her out.
And just like absolutely drag my sister for like 15 minutes. My sister's sitting there like.
I was trying to do the nice thing.
And it's also, my sister was like, it was also insane because it's like the stats were like there and it's like her stats were better. I'm like, I don't care at all, but it is just funny. It just kind of just show like the delusion these parents have where it's like, of course you think your daughter's better. Yeah. She's your daughter. Like
they're now throwing other kids. They're like, fuck that kid, fuck that kid. I don't care.
Yeah.
And it's never about, so far this story has not been about the kids actually.
No.
At all once. It's about weirdo little.
No, and I remember over the years, it went in and out where sometimes all of those girls were friends and getting along and then they would like schism and break up.
Because how are you going to be like, oh yeah.
They had to be on the same team, whatever. So in the end, like I'm missing a few details. My sister and my mom are both going to call me after this and be like, you forgot this. Like there's going to be so many details.
Someone almost lost their leg, but we can't get into that.
Like, so much of this story, I want to put my head through a window from here. Like if I hear another story about Cindy and Pete. And
meanwhile, nobody's seeing me in Anything Goes. Nobody's caring about my theater career.
Yeah. It's just like, no, like, I'm like, I'm truly like, okay, I have the musical. And well, that's the other thing is it's like so funny that like my family like very much valued sports. Yeah. And I'm like, let's all like not forget that y'all have to come see me once a quarter.
And I don't have any of this drama.
Outside. There's also a roof over your fucking head when you come see theater. You've been sitting outside in a field watching these girls play mediocre sports and watching these like depressed, like I'm just like, everyone's lives suck. Everyone's lives suck. They don't serve alcohol at these games. What are we doing?
Somebody must have been bringing flasks if they're acting crazy. I mean, I wish. If they're acting crazy.
I wish. So that's that. He didn't get fired. And
but his kids graduated at some point at least. Got rid of that. His kids
graduated. I remember one of them got married recently. We looked at the wedding photos on Facebook. Oh, I actually ran into one of the younger daughter in New York a few years ago. Fun fact. And I hope she never hears this podcast. But
I feel bad for them. I am like, it did not seem fun.
Yeah, the whole thing. I just remember like watch every single time. And I remember my sister kind of being like, I think my sister like liked the drama. Yeah. I think they all like, it made it juicy.
It gives us something, yeah.
But I also think like, yeah, it was kind of like embarrassing.
Yeah.
I think my sister and I were so thinking like my mother would never be caught dead doing that. Like that's just like so not my mom's vibe. If my parents ever I would quit the sport immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. My mom was a yeller.
My mom on a fight on the side, like, which would never happen. Like this is like, my mom would never do this. But like if I was like playing sports, which also would never happen. And my mom was like in a fight with another parent on the sideline. Like I'm in the car before the fight's over being like, we're going home.
And I'm yelling at her and she's in trouble.
Oh yeah.
She's in trouble.
Well, that was the thing. It's like the parents were the children.
Oh, totally. You're in here. Yeah. My mom was a through the court yeller. She was yelling, running with the players. And keep in mind, She did not know the rules.
That's so funny.
Did not know the rules. We're playing lacrosse. She's never heard of that. She's from Texas.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're playing lacrosse, and she is like, you gotta pass it. I'm like, actually, we're like holding right now. Yeah. It's actually fully timeout. It's actually, you don't know a single one of the rules.
It's so funny.
And my sister, I didn't play. I only played 1 year before I transferred because I was like, we're done. We're done. But my sibling was really good and liked it.
Yeah.
But was deeply shy. Probably said 20 words all of high school. Okay. My sibling, so shy. And my mom is acting like a lunatic, yelling, running with the kids when you don't know the game.
That's crazy.
You don't know the game at all.
Yeah, I don't understand the psychology of, I mean, I'll never understand it because I'm never going to have kids.
Right.
And I understand, and like parents love to be like, you don't get it until you have kids. I don't. I don't get it, and I never will.
And I don't when I'm judging you.
But I want you as parents to know that whatever happens to y'all neurologically when your children starts playing sports is so jarring to see.
Yeah.
It is so crazy.
Because it's like what you're saying. It's like you kind of know immediately they're not going to the professionals. And what else then?
It's one thing to like, I have younger cousins. Like I'm coming into an age now where like I'm going to start having like maybe like nieces and nephews that are like friends' kids or whatever.
Yep.
I will go see their games from time to time and cheer them on and be so encouraging when they win. But like, hey guys, I love you. I don't need the score. I'm not forming an opinion. I don't need the score update about what's happening. Don't
even put a scoreboard.
I'm good. Why am I getting a text message about a game that happened between 12-year-olds? Oh.
Unless it's so remarkable.
If they win the state championship, sure.
Shoot me one text. Shoot me one text about it. And then, great.
But like, I don't.
Take them out to dinner. Take them out. Great. I had a friend though, my best friend as a elementary kid, because our moms were best friends.
Cute.
She went into dance really early, like at 3 years old. And she did end up in the American Royal Ballet or whatever.
Great.
The British Royal. But it was like, she knew immediately that was just like, she like dropped out of school. And it was like, now you're a ballerina.
Totally.
And she was, it's not a competitive sport. You're not yelling at ballet. So that's fine. Go ahead. Be all in.
Yeah. If you're trying to get a scholarship, like I get that there are like outcomes to it.
Yeah.
But again, that wasn't happening at my high school.
Act right. I wish a lot of neurological best for those parents.
I know.
I wish a lot for
everyone
them.
maybe needed like a Xanax or like something.
There actually wasn't enough pill usage in the town. And that's rare.
And now there's too much. So,
we have to balance it out. Should we zoom on out to another part of the world?
I would love.
Okay, we have some listener submission, and this is a doozy, so we've got.
Oh, cool.
We've got to focus in. This is not from Vermont. We're leaving the state.
Okay.
We're going to Elko New Market, Minnesota.
Can I see the spelling of that?
Elko New Market.
3 words. Elko New Market, Minnesota. Okay, I've been to Minnesota, but not to E&M.
We have not hit the greater E&M area, but here we go. Okay, this story took place 2 years ago.
Great.
I had just returned to my hometown from college, out of state for Christmas break, and was tasked by my mother to take my sister to the Mall of America.
Which I have been to.
Yeah, we know that one. To get my brothers their Christmas gifts. Great. It should be noted before I get into the details that the night before the incident occurred, we were hit by a massive winter storm that dumped something like 2 feet of snow on the Twin Cities metro area in a span of like 8 hours. Great. We know snow. It was insane. So me and my sister in the car making our way through the neighborhood to the main county road that takes us to the highway. To get to the highway, you had to drive across a bridge. Unfortunately for us, when we pulled up to the bridge, we found it completely blocked off by an FBI van.
Oh.
Okay. Me and my sister are like, WTF. We somehow make it to the mall alive to do our shopping, and forgetting about this morning's incident, take the highway all the way home. Lucky for us, now the bridge is clear, but there's still a huge police presence surrounding a specific spot on the country road's ditch. When we got home,
a body, right?
When we got home, we were greeted by my mom asking us, "Did you see the body?"
Stop.
To which we replied, "Body?" Apparently the heavy police and FBI presence was because a dead body was found half buried in the snow. Nobody knew who he was or how he ended up there, but they know one thing for certain. The poor bastard was frozen solid. The way this story is being told is really good, by the way.
I love that.
The poor bastard was frozen solid.
So funny.
It took a few months for the police investigation to conclude, but this is what they speculated. A few hours prior to the body's appearance, a minivan in a nearby town was reported as stolen. Early that next morning, as the storm was finally dying down, a motorist called the non-emergency line to report an abandoned vehicle in the snow. Okay. Then, as we all know, a few hours later, the body was found only a few miles away from the vehicle.
Okay.
He was walking in the snow. The police pieced together that what most likely happened was the man stole the car, attempted to take it into the city via the highway. The car either broke down or ran out of gas or something due to the snow. So the man, not wanting to get caught, fled the vehicle on foot. He made it several miles down the highway, up the exit ramp, and had started heading down the country road when he eventually succumbed to the elements and collapsed, freezing to death.
That's tough.
That's not the way to go. It's suspected that no one saw him abandon the car or walk up the roads without stopping to help or reporting it because no one was out on the roads. And even if they were, they wouldn't have been able to see him due to the sheer volume of snowfall.
That's tough.
The people of my town generally don't feel much sympathy for the man's death. Sure, it was definitely a horrific way to go, but he kind of brought it on himself by targeting good and innocent people.
That is like exactly the tone. That is like the exact tone of a Rutland Spotlight post. Like if this had been posted in Rutland Spotlight, every comment would have been like
dogging him.
Like it's like
dogging him.
Yeah, and it's like, is the punishment when you steal a van in our justice system the death penalty?
Death by freezing?
No, it's not.
They said he brought it on himself by targeting good and innocent people for a poorly planned out crime that resulted in their family vehicle getting absolutely trashed. In conclusion, leave us down here in Elko alone, lest your soul be stolen by Mother Nature's ice
Jesus
cold.
Christ!
And let me take it one more time. Leave us down here in Elko alone, lest your soul be stolen by Mother Nature's ice cold hands.
You guys, that's just absolutely...
The drama's through the roof in Elko.
That is...
You're going Shakespearean, you're going biblical, you're going Nero fiddling while the city burns down.
I just... And like, I have so many things to say about the tone of this.
Course.
One, it's like...
And it is a listener, and we love you. Of course.
Love you. God bless. No one in your town did anything that resulted to this man's death. So to then like claim the cred of like, leave us in Elko alone, it's like, it snowed, babe.
It snowed in Minnesota. Alert the press.
Yeah, it also feels like a lot of the, like, you're taking a lot of cred for something that like the nature just did.
No, that's how it's done in Elko.
And it's like,
you mess with one of us, and we...
And they can summon
Mother
Gaia
Nature
to kill. That's insane.
Down upon you, your body recovered.
Yeah, I just don't think it's like car insurance is a thing, and it gets you a new car. Life insurance does not get your life back.
The car was completely trashed. I'm like, seems like he left it on the side of the road.
Yeah, I don't understand. This poor man that froze that, I actually do genuinely feel bad for him.
I feel bad for him
imagine,
too.
like, the car breaks down, you're like, fuck, I can't call AAA. I stole this car.
Definitely.
It's a blizzard.
The
now
heat's
I'm
running
fucked.
out.
And then he died. That sucks.
It is you made a bad plan.
He made a bad plan. But also
check
people
the weather.
are in a tough way, can be in a tough way.
Check the weather before you steal a car would be all I would say. I wouldn't say, thine own soul doth repent.
Or just keep an eye on the gas tank. And if you're running low, let's top it up. But
have $10 to put a little in the tank before you steal the car.
Really crazy. See, this would happen in my hometown. Lest
your soul be stolen by Mother Nature's icy cold.
That's crazy. That shit would happen in my town. That's very Vermont coded.
They love retribution.
They really do. And here's the thing. I've been to Minnesota, a kind people. Like, this is not the tone I experienced when I was in Minnesota.
You steal one minivan and now you're...
Look, yeah, I mean, maybe people are really protective of their minivans out there, but like, that's crazy.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's like very much the tone of Rutland Spotlight.
Elko New Market.
Elko New Market Spotlight is like what that is.
I want in on that Facebook. Because I know they were posting his picture.
Yeah.
They were doing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I really like the way that the tone of all of this is, because it does sort of appear to be like an Agatha Christie sort of murder mystery unfolding, where
absolutely.
It's like, you saw the body, right? I responded, body? Yeah, there's a bit of a like film noir, long cigarette.
An FBI van.
His legs appeared before us peeking out of the snow. Yeah, I really like the vibes there.
Funny.
So something we do sometimes with these stories is, based on this one story, would you move to this city?
No.
Yeah, no. I mean, rotted.
Absolutely not.
Rotted vibes.
No, the entire town banded together against a dead person who died tragically.
It's done. You don't
also,
have to.
at 2 feet of snow in a night, not doing that.
No, come on. Mall of America, I don't want to be there all the time.
Have you been?
I stayed at a hotel near, but I didn't go in.
Oh, I went in.
It's huge.
And you know it's big until you get inside of it, and then it's like, oh, it's so much bigger than I could have fathomed.
I thought I was going to get overwhelmed, so I was like, eh.
I went and looked. At one point, I was like, okay, like I feel like I've seen a lot of it. Like, let me go look. And I started looking at a directory.
Yeah.
And I never have this reaction, but looking at the map and realizing how much of it I hadn't seen, how big it was, I started to get like very anxious.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And then I just went to the Rainforest Cafe and got drunk.
And that solves all that
Good
anxiety.
Rainforest Cafe at the Mall of America.
My friend's brother is a Mall of America Santa. And in the Santa realm, that's the highest honor you can be given.
That's
like
so funny.
And it's like a huge deal. It's like a huge deal to be like, yeah, you're a Mall Santa, but you're the Mall of America's Mall Santa.
Absolutely.
And it's like
They can't just have one though. It's too big.
They have a lot. It shifts and they have a lot. And I want to say they have like on this end and this end. So I think it's like two working at the same time.
Have you ever, because you just moved here, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever done
SantaCon? No.
No. Oh God, no.
Let's not.
Santa at Macy's?
No, is it the lines out the Millennium?
Yes, but it's also, so I did it once. I had a friend who really wanted to do it. It's something I would never do in my life.
Yeah.
But I had a friend who desperately wanted to do it. And like, I was kind of like, well, I guess it's like a thing. It's a New York thing to see. It's like the Macy's Santa.
Sure.
And it's like, it's really crazy because yes, it's a long line. You might have to, this was like 10 years ago. I think you make a written appointment. There's a very long line, but they have like a whole complex inside the Macy's. And you're brought through like Santa's village. Yeah. And there's all these cottages. There's a different Santa in every cottage. So there's like 20 Santas working at any given time.
Oh, it must be what's going on at Mall of America too.
And then you go in and you have like your Santa and like it's a private room with an elf and like whatever.
Because you can't put them all out at once. The kids are going to go crazy.
It would be hours. So I'm like, and this is Macy's, which is one city block. It's huge. The Mall of America is like
the whole town
20 times that. Yeah. So it's like in my mind, there must be like 100 Santas.
There must be a lot. But it's still a huge honor. It's still a huge honor.
Can we I want a documentary about the process of the Mall of America Santas. Like I would watch, especially if it's like a high honor and it's competitive.
It is. Because it's like
HBO Max docuseries now.
If you don't make the cut, you're going to, go to the next mall over.
It's
you're
like,
one.
Do a reality show about getting cast on it. And like the bottom 3 are on the naughty list. And then they open and then the one with the cold gets eliminated. Like, why am I giving this away for free? I need to call production like now.
We have a lot to do today. And like now we have that. Yeah.
Crazy.
And he does like Zoom ones too. So you can get him.
Is this his full-time job year round?
It is. He does like little freelancey things otherwise. But you have to start growing the beard in February because it needs to be really long. Wow. And then you dye your hair white in December and your hair's all white. All that. There's no wigs. Your Mall of America. You better come bearded. You better get your ass in gear. Nobody wants to work these days. You better grow your beard starting in February because we need kids to pull on it.
That's crazy.
We got a Zoom one. I got to see him via Zoom.
And is he a good looking Santa?
He's Santa.
Wow.
You look and you go, that's Santa.
That's amazing.
And he has an improv background, which is really good, I'm sure.
Of course he does.
So I'm
How
really
old
sure that's
is he?
He's like 45, but it's like you dye your hair white. You dye your hair white and it's fine. You can't tell.
Wow.
Wow. It's huge. It's huge. Start now.
I actually like need to know about the Mall of America Santa. That's so interesting.
I think it's a huge honor, but I would say probably the Macy ones are like up there too. New York City is like the king of Christmas.
Yeah.
So if you're one of the ones near the Rockefeller tree, you're probably booked.
Yeah.
I bet that's a huge one too.
I haven't thought about it in years. I actually forgot I went and did it until we just talked about it now because it was actually probably like a full decade ago.
Yeah. Wow. I bet that's huge.
And kids are so much not a part of my life anymore. I like forgot that people do that in general. Okay, anyway, sorry.
And you like make your whole trek there. You reserve. I was working at the Grove for a while in LA.
Is that where they do the Santas in LA?
They do the Santas and then you have elves. And it's like any theater.
Where in the Grove?
They make their own cottage village.
In the middle? Mm-hmm. Where were you working in the Grove?
I was concierge, so I was parking tickets.
Oh, you worked for like the Grove itself?
I worked for the Grove.
Got it. I didn't know if you were at a store within the Grove.
No. Would just kind of help rich people carry their bags.
Love it.
It's good. It was horrible. I was really bad at it. Okay, the elves, the Santa is in Minnesota. Yeah. The Santa I know, so that's what I know. Okay, let's zoom on back. Still wintry. We're going back to Vermont.
Yeah.
I need to know, Rutland, Vermont, what are the hometown highs? It's like you're going with your girls. Get the whole gang together.
Yeah. So like a day in Rutland, if I'm like, I'm going to show us a good time, for sure. So we're probably going to go, we're going to go get lunch at Gill's Grinders.
Oh, I love a grinder.
Really good sandwiches, cash only, all the girls, like all high school girls working there with wear the Gill's t-shirts.
Rolling the sleeves probably.
Rolling the sleeves, rolling down the sweatpants, like a very specific look that
seeing the waistband.
No matter what the outside world has changed, but inside Gill's Grinders, the people and the vibe has not changed in the 25 years I've been going there. So we're going to get Gill's Grinders for lunch. I'm going to get a hot Italian with extra peppers. That's going to be lunch. And then that's like a high. For dinner, we could either do like a sit-down restaurant at the Palms, or maybe we get pizza from Ramunto's. I haven't done that in a long time. I don't know if it's still good. Yep. There were two pizza places. There was Ramunto's and there was Caramia's, and you were a Caramia's family or you were a Ramunto's family.
And you were Ramunto's.
We were actually. See, it gets really muddy when you're a child of divorce because it's like what house and also during what time, because like someone changed their recipe, whatever.
Yeah. There's
I would
drama.
say I was a Ramunto's person.
Sure.
My family changed at different times.
Open-minded.
Yeah. And my mom actually then my mom found out you could get pizza to go from the Palms, and then we became a Palms pizza family.
Okay.
That's information no one needed. I haven't been to the Palms since it reopened, but I think that I would still want to go there for nostalgia.
Yep.
And then maybe we'll go get a drink at one of the bars in like downtown Rutland, which they've been like trying to make nicer in Rut Vegas. So that's like a night out in Rutland.
Incredible.
Which is cute. If it's the summer, we're also going to go to Village Snack Bar and get some ice cream and some fries.
Ooh,
there's a Ben and Jerry's that's always going to hit up. That's always going to hit.
Oh, right, because they're Vermont's own.
That's my high school job, yeah.
Wow. Not at the flagship location.
No, that's in Burlington.
Got it. And then Hometown Lowe's, this is like, hey, we're not going to be going there, and you shouldn't either.
Yeah, so I don't think anyone needs to see the Walmart.
Sure. You've seen one, you've seen all.
It's pretty tough. The mall is now like completely abandoned.
Is it like actually like boarded up? Yeah.
Boarded up.
Yeah.
I have it. If you want to go see, I have a highlighted story on my Instagram called My Sad Mall. And it's like, it spans like 7 years, and it's the documenting of this mall slowly going out of business.
You need to get into reality TV. This is another great one. I'm like, I'll watch that show.
So it was, thank you. And it ends with, you'll see the entire mall is now boarded up.
Oof.
So the mall, the vestiges of the mall, definitely a low. So yeah, the lows would probably be like the mall's closed. I just find the downtown plaza is really depressing because it used to be the Walmart and the movie theater. Yeah. And then the movie theater closed during COVID, and they put up a sign that said, we'll be back soon. They never came back. And now it's a Planet Fitness. So there's just like, I find the downtown mall like.
So
really
is a Planet Fitness next to a Walmart? Bummer. Yeah, like those are two bummers next to each other.
It's a bummer. So those are kind of, I would say those are the lows. Like kind of like the vestiges of everything that's like died are like the lows. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Honestly, food though that you said as the highs, grinder into pizza. Yep. Yeah. We're going to be just fine. We're going to be just fine.
The food is decent. I mean, for being nostalgic, maybe we'll go to like, those are probably, that's probably what I would do. Yeah.
Great. I'm going. I'm bringing my girls. I'm going. We're heading out there. Fabulous. We're having a party. Thank you so much. I feel like I got such a picture of the Rutland vibe.
I'm glad I got to share.
And I like that there's like a lot of like, you were like, not only was it hard to find, appropriate drama, but also there's so much I couldn't say.
There's so much I couldn't say.
So much.
There's so much I couldn't say. If y'all start a Patreon, I'll come in behind the paywall. I'll do like the.
You should pay for this.
Yeah, that
you guys should be paying for this. You should honestly be paying for this. But it's fine. We'll do what we can. Thank you so much for being here. Where can everyone find you?
You can follow me on like any social media at Jake W. Cornell. If you want to come see me live, you can follow me on punchup.live/Jake Cornell. But follow me on Instagram, Jake W. Cornell.
Thank you so much, Jake. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening, Town Gossip.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening to this episode of Town Gossip. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Town Gossip Podcast and TikTok at Town Gossip. And if you have any town gossip from your hometown, email us at towngossippodcast@gmail.com for a chance to be featured.